No let-up in sight as intense fighting between Israel and Palestine has continued for days now, taking hundreds of lives on both sides. We take a closer look at its potential impact on geopolitics in the Middle East and beyond. The International Monetary Fund has slightly cut its world economic outlook at 2.9% for next year, while keeping it steady at 3% for this year. A key word from its report was slow. Seeking a stronger deterrence, South Korea, the U.S., and Japan stage a joint maritime exercise, while the nuclear-powered USS Ronald Reagan is set to dock in the South later this week. It's October 10, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin in the Middle East, where intense fighting continues for days between Israel and Palestine. Israel has launched its offensive on Gaza in retaliation for Saturday's surprise attack by Hamas. Hundreds of lives have been lost on both sides. Park Go-nu has the latest.
Since Saturday's surprise attack on Israel by the Palestinian militant group Hamas, there have been over 1,600 deaths on both sides. On Monday local time, the government press office of Israel announced that more than 800 people have died in the Hamas attacks, with over 2,600 injured. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, have led to more than 600 deaths. Hamas has also taken about 150 people hostage and is holding them in the Gaza Strip. Among the casualties and hostages, there are also citizens of the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and Ukraine, among others. Following Hamas's attack on Saturday, the Security Cabinet of Israel has declared a total blockade of the Gaza Strip and announced a final retaliation.
Dear Israeli citizens, we started, and I emphasize, we have only started to strike Hamas.
Israel has announced the mobilization of up to 300,000 reserve forces, and U.S. officials expect that Israeli forces will begin a ground operation in the Gaza Strip within 48 hours. Hamas has threatened to execute civilian hostages in retaliation for Israeli airstrikes. A Hamas spokesperson stated that they will execute one civilian hostage for each attack by Israel on civilian homes in the Gaza Strip without prior warning. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned Hamas's attacks on Israel while expressing concern about Israel's total blockade of the Gaza Strip. Currently, the South Korean government is closely monitoring the situation in Israel, and some of South Korea's long-term residents and travelers in Israel, totaling around 930 people, are expected to return home on direct flights by Korean Air on Wednesday, Korean time. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
As tensions between Israel and Hamas escalates, the U.S. has already begun to send military aid to support Israel, as it also plans to send an aircraft carrier and advanced fighter jets in the region. Our foreign affairs correspondent Pei Yun-ji takes a look at what potential impact this could have on geopolitics in the Middle East and beyond.
Following the unprecedented attack on Israel by the Palestinian militant group Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip, a small area bordering Israel and Egypt, the U.S. has begun delivering munitions and military equipment to Israel. The White House confirmed this on Monday local time, saying that the first batch of military aid in response to the violent assault by Hamas militants was making its way to Israel. This comes as the country's Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said Sunday that he has ordered America's most advanced aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, and its accompanying strike group to move to the eastern Mediterranean to support Israel. And the U.S. Air Force is also planning to send its most advanced fighter jets, including F-35s and upgraded F-15s, to the region to prevent the war from spreading beyond the borders of Israel. The latest move also comes as the Pentagon said the U.S. chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles Brown Jr., spoke with the chief of the Israeli General Staff, Herzi Halevi, and discussed Hamas' attack. Meanwhile, after Hamas threatened to kill civilian hostages if airstrikes targeted the Gaza Strip, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his military would attack Hamas with a force like never before. His remarks come after the Israeli leader reportedly told U.S. President Joe Biden in a phone call that a ground operation in the Gaza Strip was necessary. Citing 3 Israeli and U.S. sources, American news outlet Axios reported that Netanyahu told Biden that Israel had to go in and could not negotiate now, following Washington raising concerns about hostages in the Gaza Strip. As for the conflict's impact on the global market in South Korea, an expert says it's important to monitor the economic risks it may cause.
If the geopolitical instability continues, there will be less investment, and it could also cause unstable currency rates. We will have to closely monitor the situation for any global economic risk.
배은지, Arirang News.
In Afghanistan, the country is reeling from a devastating earthquake, one that has killed thousands. Rescue authorities work around the clock in search of survivors. An Song-jin reports.
A 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit western Afghanistan with an epicenter in a rural area some 40 kilometers from the city of Herat on Saturday. The latest reports have put the death toll at almost 3,000, with thousands more injured.
I lost 4 members of my family. Every house has several dead. I don't want to live anymore. I've lost my soul. I don't know what to do or what to say.
Tens of thousands of people have been displaced as houses in villages and districts of Herat province were turned into rubble. Residents remained on alert until Monday, when periodic aftershocks continued to shake the area. The head of the World Health Organization emergency response said that women and children make up 2/3 of those admitted to hospital.
The earthquake happened in the morning where men were out of the houses. So majority of those who are injured and died are women and children, adding more pressure on women, adding more pressure on children, who are the most vulnerable groups inside Afghanistan.
A UN humanitarian coordinator on Saturday approved a $5 million emergency reserve allocation from the Afghanistan Humanitarian Fund.
We, along with our humanitarian partners, are now ramping up to the response. We've deployed assessment teams, and we are providing emergency shelter supplies, blankets, warm clothes, food.
Local officials say the death toll is likely to rise as search and rescue efforts continue. Afghanistan is frequently hit by earthquakes, as seen in June last year when the eastern part of the country was hit by a 5.9 magnitude quake, which resulted in over 1,000 deaths. An Song-jin, Arirang News.
South Korea, the United States, and Japan have staged a trilateral maritime exercise in waters off southeast Jeju Island. The South Korean Navy said Tuesday that the 2-day training, which kicked off Monday, comes after the defense chiefs of the 3 countries agreed to resume trilateral exercises during their meetings in Singapore back in June. It's also a follow-up measure to the agreement made during the Camp David summit to strengthen security cooperation amid escalating threats from North Korea. A trilateral maritime interdiction exercise was conducted for the first time in 7 years. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy's nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the USS Ronald Reagan, is set to dock in Busan on Thursday for 5 days. The Defense Ministry says the visit is part of Washington's commitment to further enhance the regular visibility of its strategic assets to the Korean Peninsula as Pyongyang's provocations continue. South Korea's new defense minister Shin Won-sik says he would push for the suspension of the September 19 inter-Korean military agreement as quickly as possible. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday during his first visit to the press room since taking office, the minister said the no-fly zone established near the border in accordance with the agreement, quote, greatly limits real-time monitoring of signs of North Korea's provocations. Shin noted that the country is facing an intense threat, prompting the need to boost reconnaissance and surveillance assets. The pact, signed by South and North Korea in 2018, calls for halting all hostile acts to reduce tensions. The International Monetary Fund has slightly cut its world economic outlook to 2.9% for next year. The projection for South Korea was also lowered to a little over 2%. A key word from its report was slow for both economic growth and rising consumer prices. Our Moon Hae-ryun explains.
The International Monetary Fund maintained its 2023 economic growth projection for South Korea, but made cuts for 2024. On Tuesday, it released its final World Economic Growth Report for the year and summarized upcoming economic conditions as stable but slow. It maintained its growth projection of 3% made in July for 2023, but made adjustments to 2024, lowering the overall world economic growth outlook by 0.1 of a percentage point to 2.9%. South Korea's economic outlook was given a similar forecast, maintaining the same growth projection of 1.4% for the rest of the year ahead, but had its growth forecast cut by 0.2 of a percentage point for 2024. The IMF's prediction for 2023 is the same as the Bank of Korea's made around a month ago. The Washington-based agency attributed the stable economic conditions for the rest of the year to eased COVID-19 restrictions, heightening consumer demand in the service sector such as tourism. As for the slow pace of growth, China's slower-than-expected rebound and the slump in the manufacturing sector was said to be contributing factors. Just last week, the World Bank downgraded its forecast for China's growth next year, with the world's second biggest economy predicted to expand at one of its lowest rates since the 1960s. The IMF also predicted that rising consumer prices are likely to stabilize due to continued high interest rates as well as a decline in global prices for raw materials. However, it said that there will be a gradual decline in target levels for inflation. Most countries are supposedly set to achieve target levels by 2025. Core inflation, the changing costs of goods and services, excluding volatile food and energy prices, was adjusted to slow at a more gradual pace this year. Some key economic tasks for governments going forward were said to be maintaining fiscal soundness through the expansion of stable sources of tax revenue. Structural reform and improvement of fiscal policies to enhance overall economic production were cited as mid to long-term goals. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
South Korea's LG Electronics posted its second highest operating profit ever for the third quarter this year, despite the sluggish economy and weak consumer demand. In a regulatory filing on Tuesday, LG Electronics said that its operating profit surged more than 33% from the previous year to 967.7 trillion won, or around $740 million during the July to September period. Although sales fell slightly more than 2% compared to a year earlier to around $15.3 billion, it was still the second highest sales recorded for the third quarter, with the highest being from the previous year. This was largely owed to the company expanding its B2B operations in its auto parts and heating, ventilation and air conditioning businesses, as well as the strong performance from its home appliance sector. Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix have been granted waivers from U.S. restrictions that look to limit their business operations in China. The top office in Seoul says it's the result of the country having strengthened its bilateral alliance with Washington. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young has the details.
The United States has suspended restrictions indefinitely on South Korea's largest chip makers importing American semiconductor equipment to their factories in China as Seoul works to resolve its biggest bottlenecks in global trade. On Monday, Senior Presidential Secretary for Economic Affairs Choi Sang-mok said the US government designated Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix's semiconductor plants in China as verified end users. This allows the two firms to import sensitive tech items for use in their Chinese chip factories without the need to obtain a permit each time.
This decision by the US government means that the biggest trade issue for Korean chipmakers has been resolved. This has also greatly alleviated uncertainties related to their factory operations and investments in China.
Last October, the US imposed new rules to restrict advanced computing and chip production gear from entering China to curb the growth of Beijing's chip industry and its stealing of technology. Samsung and SK Hynix had a one-year exemption, but Seoul has for months been pushing for an extension of that grace period, which was set to expire this month. Semiconductors last year made up almost a fifth of South Korea's exports. More than 40% of Samsung's NAND chips and half of SK Hynix's DRAM chips are produced at plants in China. While noting that other trade issues may arise in the future, Yoon's economic aide said Washington's waiver came about as Presidents Yoon and Joe Biden, since their first summit in May last year, have committed to close cooperation on high-tech supply chains while strengthening their bilateral alliance. Chair also projected optimism on Korean auto giant green car sales in the US market, saying the Korean government has been helping them secure subsidies under Washington's Inflation Reduction Act, which sets out assembly and battery requirements that largely favor American firms with domestic manufacturing. Furthermore, amid various headwinds facing the Korean economy, Chair said the Yoon government boosted foreign direct investment to unprecedented levels, recording almost $24 billion from January to September, a rise of 11.3% on year. Greenfield investment in high-tech industries like chips and batteries, he said, are likely to help strengthen supply chains and create new jobs across the domestic economy. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
This past weekend, visitors to Yeouido Hangang River Park in the capital city were treated to a spectacular show of fireworks that sought to spread a message of hope. For those who missed it, our Ian Hee shares some of those scenes.
Huge crowds of people gathered beneath the autumn sky. Breathtaking fireworks fill the canvas of the night at the Han River Park in Yeouido. Around 1 million people came together for the 2023 Seoul International Fireworks Festival over the weekend, with South Korea's government pledging safety as a priority. The festival was organized by Hanwha Group, and according to company officials, this year's event was the biggest ever, with over 400 LED firework firing drones taking part, and a record number of barges, each reportedly loaded with hundreds or even thousands of fireworks positioned on the river. Officials say around 102,000 fireworks were used. The event was supposed to feature 3 teams under the theme Lights of Tomorrow. However, a technical issue meant Poland had to withdraw, leaving Korea and China to put on a show. Team Korea embroidered the autumn sky with beautiful fireworks, creating unforgettable memories for audience members from a variety of countries. Breathtaking fireworks lit up the night sky, coordinated with a wide range of music, including a creative display of letters and numbers. The Korean team performed a remarkable fireworks display that captivated onlookers, leaving them in awe. As the stunning fireworks light up the night, you can feel a shared sense of wonder and amazement washing over the crowd.
The Chinese team, named Sunny, also illuminated the night sky with beautiful fireworks, conveying messages under the theme, A Dream Comes True. With Chinese music on in the background, Team Sunny provided an experience that momentarily transported you to China. The colorful fireworks in the night sky were part of a spectacular performance, creating a memorable scene.
It was really beautiful. I didn't expect it to be like this kind of grand stage with so many people. And the organization, I think it's very well organized. For everyone just to move, keep moving, and everyone to be safe. So
it's so beautiful that I wish we had more opportunities like this.
A moment that goes beyond the fireworks above. It is a moment that unites us, captivates our hearts, and reminds us of the beauty in gazing up at the wonders of the world. Ian Hee, Arirang News.
Marvel Studios' The Marvels is set for a release in South Korea on November 8th. The Walt Disney Company made the announcement on Tuesday and released a new poster and final film trailer. The Marvels is the second film in the Captain Marvel series. The highly anticipated movie stars Brie Larson, Eamon Bellamy, Teyonah Parris, and Samuel L. Jackson, along with South Korean actor Park Seo-joon. The new poster for The Marvels also offers the latest look of Park as Prince Yeon, the character he portrays. As the use of generative AI becomes more diverse, it's bringing changes in the way we work, while concerns about ethical issues and regulatory measures are also increasing. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young spoke with Microsoft's Chief Communications Officer about the rapidly growing generative AI market.
As the race for the development of generative artificial intelligence intensifies, AI has been permeating people's daily lives. Microsoft, one of the leading players in AI market, has integrated its AI assistant Copilot into its products including Windows 11 and MS 365 to enhance productivity of complex and cumbersome tasks. A chief communications officer of Microsoft emphasized the importance of thinking about the meaning of the new tool.
One of the less helpful things that has happened is that all this technology, all these tools have been sort of put in this box and people have put a label on it and they said it's AI. And so people just talk about AI as a thing instead of thinking about it as a set of new tools that have come along. And so anytime there's something new, there is a natural concern, like what does this mean for me? What does it mean for my industry? What does it mean for my country? And especially if it's something as amorphous as AI.
According to market research firm Grandview Research, the global generative AI market is estimated to grow to over $109 billion by 2030 from around $10 billion in 2022. Amid the growing market, South Korea has set AI sector as one of 12 national strategic technologies to focus on and aims to sharpen its competitive edge in AI.
Yeah, I think South Korea is pretty well positioned. It's a country that has really invested in technology over the years and that has shown it's got great innovation capability. And with AI, the people that will do the best are the ones that adopt early and really drive intensity of use. South Korea is in a pretty good place for those things.
He pointed out education and healthcare sectors as promising industries where AI can be applied.
There's a challenge in that they're trying to enter in the information at the same time as they're talking to you. There's so much research that's happening with medicine right now, and now you have the idea of a co-pilot that can sit there with them and say, okay, here's some new research that you might want to think about as it applies to this specific patient.
Countries across the globe have been seeking ways to mitigate dangers of the emerging technology. Last month, leaders of U.S. tech giants including Microsoft, Google, and Meta gathered and discussed AI regulations with lawmakers in Washington.
If you think about AI as a major new platform shift with lots of new capabilities, and you understand how important technology generally is to the way people live and work today, governments absolutely should be thinking about how will it show up in their market, what are the specific harms that they want to prevent, and we're committed to working with them.
He added that Microsoft has already been contemplating principles around ethical AI use for several years and welcomes cooperation with regulators on this matter. 신하영, Arirang News.
For the time being, clear skies are in the forecast, along with wide temperature gaps. Most regions will see a gap of 10 degrees or more in between day and night. For places like Chuncheon, morning temperatures will be dropping to single figures, but daytime highs will be jumping significantly, surpassing the 20-degree mark. Make sure to dress in layers tomorrow morning. With lows dropping significantly overnight, any frost is likely to be patchy. If you have any plants you may want to protect, make sure to cover them up or bring them inside. Frost is most likely for mountainous regions where temperatures will fall below 5 degrees. Also for the East Coast, high waves are forecast across the ocean. Please stay away from water around piers and breakwaters. We'll see a wide variation in morning temperatures across the nation. Seoul will be starting off at 13 degrees. Readings will be ranging from 9 to 17 degrees Celsius. As for the daily highs, Seoul, Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju will be topping out at 23 degrees. A high-pressure system will take over for the remainder of the week. A few clouds will start to move in on Friday. It's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.